The man had grown tired of the sterile confines of airport terminals and the impersonal efficiency of flights. So, when the opportunity arose to take a road trip, he eagerly embraced it, relishing the prospect of solitude and freedom on the open road. As he navigated through the vast expanse of Texas, the landscape unfolded before him like a sprawling canvas of endless possibility. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the desert plains as he rolled into a sleepy town. He found solace in a quaint diner, the warm glow of its interior welcoming him. As he dialed his wife, promising to be home soon, he struck up a conversation with an elderly local named Joe. Joe, a fountain of local lore and wisdom, shared tales that grew darker as the night wore on. Despite the weight of his stories, Joe's eyes sparkled with a peculiar intensity, as if he held a secret too immense to bear alone. Accepting Joe's offer of discounted lodging at a nearby motel, he settled into a nondescript room. The room was dimly lit, casting long shadows across the worn carpet. Exhaustion claimed him, and he succumbed to sleep. Yet when he awoke, he found himself in a nightmare. The room had transformed into a sterile chamber, its walls adorned with medical equipment. He was restrained to a cold metal bed, his limbs held fast by leather straps. To his horror, he realized he wasn't alone. Joe lay beside him, his once vibrant spirit now reduced to a frail husk. Joe's wife, Evelyn, entered the room, her presence casting a pall over the already ominous atmosphere. Her eyes bore into him with a cold intensity. Her lips curved into a cruel smile as she approached the bed. "Welcome back, dear," she purred, her voice dripping with malice. "You're just in time for the main event." A figure emerged from the shadows, clad in surgical scrubs and wielding a gleaming scalpel. The man's heart raced as he realized the truth. He was about to become the unwilling participant in a macabre game of life and death. As he struggled against his restraints, the doctor's hands moved with practiced precision. The sound of metal clinking against metal echoed through the chamber as he prepared his instrument of fate. As the scalpel descended, the man's vision blurred and darkness enveloped him once more, the sting of betrayal lingering like a bitter taste on his tongue. Meanwhile, in the outside world, the man's wife grew increasingly frantic, her search for her missing husband leading her back to the diner where their fateful encounter had taken place. Desperation etched lines of worry into her brow as she pleaded with the patrons for any sign of her beloved spouse. Her heart skipped a beat as she spotted a familiar figure at the back of the bar, seated beside the elderly wife Evelyn of the older man he had befriended earlier. Rushing over with a mixture of relief and concern, she embraced him tightly, only to be met with a blank stare and a furrowed brow. Confusion clouded her husband's features as he struggled to recall her name, his mind a jumble of fragmented memories and unfamiliar faces. Evelyn's grip tightened on his arm, her eyes glinting with a sinister gleam as she whispered words of reassurance, her true intentions hidden behind a facade of concern. Unaware of the sinister truth lurking beneath the surface, the wife's heart sank as she realized that her husband was no longer the man she knew and loved. With a heavy heart, she turned to leave, her mind reeling with unanswered questions. Before she could take a step, Evelyn's voice cut through the din of the diner, offering the distraught wife a discounted stay at a nearby motel. The offer rang hollow in the wife's ears, suspicion gnawing at the edges of her consciousness as she struggled to make sense of the strange events unfolding around her. Little did she know, the darkness that had claimed her husband's soul was far from finished, its insidious tendrils reaching out to ensnare yet another unwitting victim in its web of deceit and despair. And as the night stretched on, the shadows of the small Texas town whispered tales of terror and tragedy, their secrets buried deep beneath the facade of normalcy, waiting to be unearthed by those brave enough to confront the darkness within.